You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
We got to say Shechianu because we have our annual Purim program. And what better person than our Purim Rebbe who joins us as he does every single year. I'm not sure how many years he's been joining us, but Rabbi Yechiel Rubin is our Purim Rebbe. And we have we have Mike Fine joined us as well to add a little celebration, even though there's a lot going on between COVID, hopefully not here anymore, and Ukraine crisis, but it's Purim, so we got to let it all begin. So Purim Rebbe, Rabbi Yechiel Rubin. Thank you.
Zev, it is great to be here as usual. I love coming on. You know, I try to get, a weekly show, but we're still with the annual show. It's okay. It's okay. But
I'll start you off with a Shechiuni. I know it's your favorite song.
Yes. I appreciate that. But no Shechiunis till the Megillah. No Shechiunis till the Megillah. That's a problem. First of all, before we start, I want to welcome Mike. Mike is an old friend, and we used to see him in the Kollel and the way.
Very talented comic also.
Very talented. He's a real comedian. I do this on the side, once in a while. He's a real comedian. So, I think it's going to be by next year. It's going to be the Mike Fine show with Zev, and I'm going to be like, couple jokes. But in the meantime.
Don't give me any iron horrors, Yechiel.
No.
That's yeah.
Okay, I won't. I'm just kidding around. But first of all, it's great to be here and a Freilichen Purim to everybody. And I want to give a shout out to my nephew Naftali Rubin from Lakewood, New Jersey, who was a tzaddik on the airplane. We came back from Los Angeles, and I told him if he behaves on the airplane, and he did, I'm going to mention him on the show. So hello, Naftali. And hope you had a good.
That sounds like the old joke from When You're in Love, the Whole World Is Yours. You know what that joke is, right, Yechiel? And Mike.
Which one? Yes. Hello. Yeah. To my nephew. Yeah. The guy. Of course. I'll start off with that joke if you want. Because I know you love
your nephew, so you got to.
Yeah. So this guy. Yeah. So yeah. So this guy has his will, and he says, I want to give my wife, my home, and my son Dave, my summer home, and my daughter Susan, my 2 cars, and to my nephew George, who has always smoked the best cigars, mine, who always, told me, Uncle Joe, you never could forget me in your will. So I said, no, I will never forget you in my will, George. Hello, George. But that is the joke. It's an old joke, but you have to understand. But when there's a will, there's relatives.
Right.
Yes. So, but I want to say with you, when there's a will, there's a way, and we're going to start with some more jokes. But there's a lot of people talking, about what's going on in the world with Russia and Ukraine, and everybody's yenting. You know what business the yenta is in? Your business.
Your business.
And,
right.
Yeah. And so at least Mike is laughing at the jokes. So and we got to make sure that we don't get that the United States does not get forced, God willing, hopefully not, but get thrown to this war, especially Canada. You heard what happened to the Canadian Army?
What happened?
He died. And so so we're getting some laughs. But so I want to start.
I thought you were going to say he's the unknown soldier.
Yeah, no, but I want to start off with a good joke. Of course, as we always say, when someone is single, he's incomplete. Then he gets married, he's finished. That is, that's true. But there's a joke about this girl, and she tells her ma, she says, Ma, I found the man of my dreams. I want to marry him. The problem is I can't marry him. So he says to her, why not? Why marry? Why can't you marry him? He says, I would marry him, but I can't. He goes, why not? He goes, because he doesn't believe in hell. He doesn't believe. He says, don't worry, Mary. You marry him. Between me and you, he'll believe in hell very soon. But
But you remind me
so
of a joke about a woman goes to a Rebbe and she goes to the Rebbe. Rebbe Chaim and Yankel are both interested in marrying me. Rebbe, who should I marry? Who's going to be the lucky one? And the Rebbe says, marry Chaim, and Yankel will be the lucky one.
yeah, no. That you heard about the women's daf. Everybody's learning the daf, starting Yuvamis, and you did Seder Nashim. So you just finished Moed. Now they're going into Seder Nashim. You heard about this woman, the new women's daf yomi?
TikTok.
No. It's ich darf a new dress, ich darf new shoes, ich darf new jewelry. Every day, noch a daf. So Baruch Hashem.
I see you on the right page.
Yeah, we're on. You're good. But you got me sidetracked. But every day. So anyway, I want to go. I feel bad. Mike's here. He just joined the show. So
you don't have to feel bad for me, Yechiel. I feel bad enough being here already.
No. I'm just gonna go. You could pipe in anytime you want. We do a casual show here.
Well, before I go any further, I don't want to be left out. I also would like to say hello to Naftali and everyone at BMG. I know Zev Brenner show has a huge following in Lakewood, all the way up to South Fallsburg and Woodbridge and Passaic and all the hot places. So it's
and Monroe and Borough Park and Williamsburg.
And Kiryas Joe, so I just want to get that out of the way. But no, it's a tremendous treat to be here. I figure I come on, I say hello to the audience. They get to know me. Maybe I'll pick up a booking here or there. I know Zev's previous guests, got bookings. Is past guest, so maybe I'll get booked to do the Pesach in Bordeaux. That's really the purpose for this entire thing. If nothing else comes out of this, it's just so I could go on Pesach with Bordeaux and with Zev. That's
you just
that's
say if you go on our program, you won't be Pesach with dough. We'll be without dough by the time.
Yeah, But your previous what?
Why don't you try Pesach in Ukraine? I heard they're giving it very cheap. It's a lot of commotion, a lot of fireworks. It's a nice program.
I'm sure. Reb Pesach Kron's going to be there third night of Chalamayid. They're going to have Michael Przanski. It's going to be very Lebedik there, I'm sure. Beautiful tea room and I'll tell you this though, that the whole Passover programs, it's fascinating. I'm actually disappointed when Passover is over because it turns out that all the advertisements are gone. I love them in the Jewish newspapers. The whole hotel's booked for Passover. Entire hotels. I love it. And if you book, like 6 months in advance, they'll shave off like $400. It's hysterical. I just, and they book every single mentalist and hypnotist. They would go with a comedian, but 12 years ago, someone recommended a comedian that came to their synagogue who went on the program. Someone got offended, so they couldn't have one. So they're going to think about having another comedian. And they call me and we talk for about 6.5 weeks. And then they pick my brain. And then right after they said they send the deposit, that's when I find out they decide they're going with another hypnotist. So it's I'm trying to get
so good, Mike. It's good, but we are on this program to say jokes because it's Purim. We're going to do our advertisements when the advertisements come on. So I appreciate that's great, and you should be. You're a real comedian. I'm just here just for the ride. I get my salary, $0, 0 cents as usual.
Double that from last year. Double.
Yeah, we're going to triple it from last year. So, but let's go on because it's nice to we want to get to the meat and potatoes. We want to get to the jokes. That's why people.
I want to get to the Borscht and Beblech.
Yes, exactly.
No, I thought people are tuning in because they're still waiting to hear from the guy who's coming on to talk about why there was a split in Ger Hasidim. That's why I thought people are. Well, if people say, with all that's going on in the world now, we need to laugh. We need to laugh. Right. Well, why is that? Why have you ever heard such a thing that we need to laugh? have you ever heard things are going so well in the world right now, like when Trump was president and there were no wars? Did anyone ever say, yeah, everything's good, we don't need a laugh now? But we like right now, well, so this is like big business right now. There should be more wars. Putin should be a matzliach. He should invade 14 more countries and maybe I'll get more bookings because then we'll need to laugh, even more.
Right, yeah, no, it's always Purim time. You always need to laugh. Once a year, we laugh, and we're going to go on with some more jokes. So you heard about the landlord. This guy was giving a landlord and the tenant were having a problem. So the guy says, my landlord, he is mamish, a living Sefer Torah. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, every week, another parsha, sometimes two, So, you just got to, that's the way it is. But so there was another time there was a landlord tenant problem, and the landlord was giving the tenants problems, so they called the cops.
Don't mention Ari Spitzer's name. Yeah.
No. Anyway, they cannot mention anybody's names. We're keeping it kosher and clean, and no lashon hara, no names here. And so the chief of police comes down and knocks on the Jew's door and says, "Are you the manager of this huge building over here?" He says, "I'm not." He goes, "I'm not the manager." He goes, "What are you?" He goes, "I'm the manager." So that's the point. You have to be just low key. We got to keep it low. But anyway, let's go back to some good.
How low are you going?
Yeah, no. I'm going to go to this joke about this.
I like how you mentioned the manager. Where every single time I'm in the store, today it's you go into Home Depot, you go into Lowe's. It's like an absolute nightmare. Every 2 seconds, they're telling you when it comes time to check out, they're like it's only self checkout now. They don't have any cashiers anymore. So you have to check yourself out. You have to scan everything with the barcode. Like I officially work for the stores now. You have to bag. They don't even have bags now. Turns out I have to, with everything. But it turns out if you have a problem, all you have to ask for is the manager. Then they want to know, why do you have to speak to the manager? What's it about? It's impossible. I had an idea. Why don't they have a store or a business where they make everyone a manager? So no matter who you're talking to, it's just managers. They'll make everyone.
By the way, they have that in Israel. They have that in Israel.
Do they?
Yeah, sure. Everybody's a manager. In Israel, everybody's a prime minister. In Shul, everybody's a president. That's the way it is.
Golda Meir, that's her famous line. Those that are just tuning in, you're listening to our annual Purim program. We have our resident Purim Rav, the Rebbe, Harav Hagun.
Hagun is every year you say the same thing. We're gonna get you back.
You haven't changed. And our new resident comic is Mike Fine, who's also a funny person, and we're here to bring you laughs when the world needs laughter because of all the terrible things that people have gone through this whole year. We need to cheer them up, and what better day than Purim?
Yeah, so I'm going to go on to a great joke. This is a classic joke. It's one of my favorites. It's actually Mike Fine brought it to the Kollel, and he's going to have some on, I think, Netflix or whoever's going to pick it up. And this is the joke I said. I think it's worthwhile to say it over. So there was once this Jew, Yechiel from Jerusalem. He came to New York and he was collecting money. And they said, Yechiel, you collect. He's going here and there. They said, they're selling lottery tickets. Why don't you buy a lottery ticket? It's $5 million. Lo and behold, he buys a lottery ticket and he wins. And they announced that Jacob from Jerusalem won a $5 million New York lottery. And he was all excited. And they came to interview him. And the news said to him, Jacob from Jerusalem, you won the $5 million. That's so amazing. What are you going to do with the money? So he says, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pay off my debts. So that news anchor says, wow, Jacob, that's very noble of you. Pay off. What about the rest? He says, the rest, they're going to have to wait till I win another lottery.
That was very good.
Yes.
You won the lottery on that one.
Yeah. So that is a classic good joke. I'm not, if I ever become a full-time comedian, not like, like Mike, that is one of the good jokes that is like the centerpiece of my show.
No, that's the perfect joke. That's the type of joke that, like, after, let's say, I'm done performing, because anytime you perform for a Jewish audience, there's a line around the block to approach you afterwards, not to tell you how good you did, but to tell you, I have a joke for you. So that would be the type of joke you would approach me with afterwards and say, you could use it, put it in the act. That's
right. You got it. You got it. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a chasna. They say, "Mitzvah by you." You know, there was a guy who was a single guy, and every time he goes to a wedding, they said, "Mitzvah by you, mitzvah by you." So he had enough. So he finally decided. I go, "What are you gonna do?" He goes, "When I go to funerals, I say, mitzvah by you, mitzvah by you." So, but anyway.
Don't even joke. I've been going to a lot of funerals recently. I just went to a funeral. The person was 98 years old, and it turns out that, I don't know if it bothers you, but it bothers me. At the funeral, you know, everyone's looking around. Oh, well, you know, he's 98. He lived a long life. Isn't that like a weird thing to say? Well, he lived a long life. It's like, you never hear like on a news, you know, a newscast after like a plane crash, you know, it's like, well, you know, they made it pretty far, you know, it's like, what does that mean? He lived a long life, you know, and no matter how old anyone is today, you know, if the person 98 years, well, that's not old, you know, that's
right.
young.
You have
you
to
know,
live till 120. But talking about older people, there was this older couple that they went to Florida and they wanted to go out to eat. So they went over to their friend's house. They said, we heard there's a nice restaurant. We want to go out to a nice restaurant. We heard there's a nice restaurant on Collins Avenue on, you know, what do you have? So he goes, yeah, there's a very good restaurant on 46th Street. He goes, what is that called? What is, you know, I forgot the name. He goes, you know, that flower that's red, that smells nice, that has thorns, you know, that smell. And, you know, they go, Rose? He goes, yeah, Rose. What's the name of that restaurant on 46th Street? You know, so the point is that we should all have our, you know, our faculties together, and everybody should live long, and, you know, have it all up there, have our minds sound. And that's the blessing of a long life, you know,
because if you look at everything through rose-colored glasses.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
You ever see when someone unfortunately passes away, you see how obsessed people get with trying to find out what the person died from or what they passed from? You know, if you refuse to tell someone what the person, the mace or the person was nifter from, you know how incensed people aren't able to function. They lose their minds if you refuse to tell them, or if you don't know. They start guessing. Was it Corona? Was it this? Was it that?
Yeah, I know. Well, we got to keep. But Mike, we got to keep people laughing. So let's go back to the meat and potatoes. You know, it's nice to have, you know, rice. You know, but we got to go back to the jokes. So we're going to go back to the jokes. And there was this guy jogging Sunday morning in Manhattan, and he was jogging past St. Patrick's Cathedral, and he sees a yid there schnorring money. He goes, he recognizes him. He says, and right next to him is the priest coming with a whole beautiful robe and a beautiful gold bowl, and everybody's giving Yankel maybe a nickel, a quarter, and they're giving the priest $20, $50, $100. So he says, Yankel, I mean, can't you see what you're doing over here? Why don't you go and collect money in Williamsburg or Monroe or Lakewood? Why are you here in front of the church? So Yankel elbows the priest and says, Moshe, he's telling us how to do business.
Well, Yechiel, let's go back to the serious stuff, you know, which I was saying, very serious and down and melancholy stuff, because I think that people are tired of jokes. You know, they're going to be, you're so labor-dick on Purim. Let's get very, very serious now. Help us get there.
You want to get serious?
Very serious.
You're on the wrong show, Rebbe.
You're on the wrong show. You know, you're
okay.
You know, people are, you know, Zev's very funny, but then again, looks aren't everything, you know. No.
Yeah.
No, Zev, I'm just kidding around. You're a great looking guy. I'm sorry.
He's
Zev,
a great looking guy.
I didn't come here to get insulted. I could have gone someplace else.
to be perfectly honest, I don't even think Zev's completely Jewish. what guy his age has a full head of hair like that? There must be like an intermarriage or something. Like, I hope that after I die, I come back to this life as his brush. Look at that full thick mane he has. It's like, yeah, Italian blood.
He looks great. Looks great. You heard about the 97-year-old guy? He married a 22-year-old, and he goes to the doctor, and he goes, "Doctor, how come you didn't come to my wedding?" He goes, "Yankel, you're 97. You married a 22-year-old? That's fatal." He goes, "Okay, if she dies, she dies." So I think we just got to keep we're on the, we got to keep the jokes running, because it is Purim, and it's a time to celebrate, and it's a miracle.
But Mike, the Jews laughed at everything, and even in concentration camp they had jokes. But I'm wondering, I didn't really hear any good jokes about COVID. I know it's a terrible situation, and we don't mean to minimize it. But as I said, even the concentration camp they had Jewish humor. But have you guys heard any?
I've heard one.
I've
heard one COVID joke. One COVID joke I've heard. You want to hear it? It was about this lady. This lady who comes to the doctor, and she has coronavirus, and her husband has coronavirus, and the doctor says, "You guys got to quarantine." She goes, "But we're married. We've been married for 35 years. How are we going to deal with this?" He says, "Well, I know where you live, Mr. Schwartz. You have a beautiful home. You have 2 floors. You go on 1 floor, and and your husband goes on the other floor. And for 14 days, you'll quarantine." She says, "Doctor, we've been doing that for 35 years. What's going to change now?"
Those that are just tuning in, you're listening to our annual Purim broadcast. Our guests include our very own Purim Rebbe, Yechiel Rubin Shlita, is with us every single year, and our newcomer, Mike Fine, is a comedian, and we're here despite, we're living in troubling times, but Purim is Purim. I always like to say we have so many Hammans and only one Purim. We need more Purims. We need more celebrations. So we're here to cheer people up for just a little while longer. So,
right, yes.
What is the number one Jewish joke of the year? Or
the number one Jewish joke of the year, I would have to say, is I just said it. No, that's a very okay. I will have to say the number one Jewish joke of the year is this rabbi and taxi driver. They come up to heaven, and the taxi driver, Joseph, the taxi driver, was a taxi driver for 40 years in Jerusalem, and they give him this gold robe, the gold carpet, the gold cane, the gold hat. They say, "Go on to Gan Eden." And he goes. And then the rabbi, they give the silver robe, the silver carpet, the silver cane, and the silver hat. He's been a rabbi for 40 years. So he says to the angel, "I don't understand. This taxi driver gets a higher treatment than me. I've been a rabbi in the synagogue for 40 years. He drives cabs for 40 years. So the angel tells him, "Listen, when you spoke, Rabbi, everybody fell asleep. When he drove, everybody prayed. Everybody prayed."
That's a great one. You remind me of the fact of somebody who went through life and he wanted to do everything according to halacha, to Jewish law, but he always found a rabbi to give him the most lenient opinion. After 120 years, he goes up and the angels take him to paradise, to Gan Eden. They take him to a room with a small ceiling fan and a lamp. And he goes to the angels. "Is this paradise? Is this Gan Eden?" And the angels go, "Yes, according to the most lenient opinion."
Very true, Zev. Very, very true.
But I don't want to step on your toes, so I'll let you continue.
No. I'll just continue. Obviously, first of all, I want to give a happy birthday to my brother Naftali and to my son Naftali. We're big with the Naftalis. Naftali and Michal, they got married this year, so happy Baruch Hashem. Yeah, so it's very exciting. And my daughter Miral and Nissi, son-in-law, coming home with the 2 kids, and it's Henny, my granddaughter's birthday, and with Dina, they're coming home. And of course, I want to say hello to my mother. I'm picking her up from the airport. She's coming to New York for Purim, so we're going to look forward to now. I got everybody, and my brother Mordecai. Hello, Mordecai. Hello, Bohika. Don't forget. Anyway, but let's go. There was talking about, I know Mike loves talking about, serious things and funerals. So there was a lady who called the Jewish Chronicles, and her husband died, and she says, "I want to give an obituary." So they said, "How much?" He said, "How much?" She said, "How much is it?" They said, "It's $85 for a sentence." So she writes, "Okay, right, Bernie is dead." So they said, "Mrs. Schwartz, for $85, you could write, another couple words, why for free? So he goes, oh, right. Bernie is dead. Lexus for sale, cheap. So, talking about, we said before, the rabbi, he's giving a speech, his drasha in shul, and he says over to the gabbai, wake these people up, they're falling asleep. He says, Rabbi, you put them to sleep, you wake them up. So I hope everybody's not falling asleep. I'm just going to, say a couple more, good jokes. I think there's a couple more good ones. As this lady, they're on El Al, and they go, is there a doctor on board? We have emergency. Please go to row 22, aisle 22, number B, seat B. There's a lady who needs a doctor. It's an emergency. So a doctor comes running, and that old lady says, you're that doctor? He says, yes. He says, okay, do I have a granddaughter for you? But that's we're but anyway.
What happened? Was there a shidduch?
I don't know, but there was a date. But hopefully, you never know. We there is we have to improve the shidduch crisis. And it is a problem. That is one of another serious problems. But with jokes, that's it's they always say a shidduch is like kriyas yamsuf. A shidduch is done with a kriyas yamsuf, like spitting in the sea. So they say why. So it's brought down in the Medrash that when Paro went to chase the Jews in Egypt, he had his regular army, and then he was so mad he got his reserves and his backup reserves to go and bribe them with gold and silver. That's how he got so rich when they drowned. But he says, so the question they ask is, why did the second unit and the third unit go after they saw the first unit drowned? The answer is, it's like a shidduch. You see your friend drowning, but you keep on going. What are you gonna do?
So what advice do you have to those single people out there?
I would say the single people is get married. Definitely get married. It's worthwhile. And it's work. It's like it is work, but it's worthwhile. I definitely it outweighs. A single life is not a blessing. A married life is blessed. So of course I want to now my wife. Now we talk about marriage. Hello, Leah, my wife, my beautiful wife.
It's about time.
7 years. Yes. You can't forget your wife. You know what they say. If you want to remember your wife's birthday, how do you never forget your wife's birthday? Forget once. You'll never.
So what happened?
I don't want to tell you. I don't
That'll be next year's show.
Yeah. So talking about marriage, this lady comes to the rabbi in shul, and right after davening, she says, Rabbi, my husband, he's dead. I don't know what to do. He says, oh my gosh, Esther, what did he say before he died? What did he say? He just said, this is what he said. He said, Esther, please put down the gun. But
you remind me of a story about a woman goes to a Hasidic Rebbe. She passes a note to the sexton, to the gabbai. The gabbai passes a note to the Rebbe because the woman's husband was missing. So she wants to know if her husband's going to come back. The Rebbe sees the note and he tells to the gabbai, after he consults the Holy Sfarim, he says he's coming back. The next year, the woman comes again. She gives a note to the gabbai. He gives it to the Rebbe. The Rebbe consults the Sfarim. Again, says that he'll be back. 3 years go by. And finally, the woman comes again with a note, and the gabbai wants to take it to the Rebbe. So the Hasidim say, well, what's going on here? So the gabbai says, the woman's husband will never come back. And the Hasidim get angry. How could you contradict the Rebbe? He goes, very simply, the Rebbe saw the note. I saw the lady.
That's right.
It may not be politically correct to say it.
I'm not going to say anything.
But you can use it. You can use it at the Purim spiel at the congregation Yechiel Moshe.
Oh yeah. Yes, I could use it. Remind me tomorrow. I'm going to use it. But that's.
Any closing thoughts? Because we're almost out of time.
Almost out of time. Come on, we don't have anybody special coming after us. We can't go. Okay. Anyway, there was we're gonna one more joke. There was this guy, his 25th anniversary, and he tells his wife, "We're gonna go to the fur factory in downtown Manhattan. My friend David, he has a fur factory. You pick out any coat you want." She goes, "Really?" "Yes." So they go on a Friday. and they pick out. She picks out. His wife picks out for a $40,000 coat. So David says, "Yeah, uncle, it's $40,000. Your wife has good taste." He says, "No problem." He writes out a check for $40,000. David Furrier of New York City, and he gives it to him. So David says to him, "Yeah, uncle, listen here. Today's Friday, and Monday's a holiday. So come back on Tuesday when make sure your check clears. And Tuesday you come pick up the coat." He says, "No problem." He tells his wife, "We come back Tuesday." No problem. Tuesday morning, Yankel comes to the furrier, and David looks at him and says, "How dare you come into my store?" And Yankel's smiling, and David says, "I checked your bank. You don't have $40,000. You don't have 40 cents in your bank account. And you wrote a check for $40,000? So Yankel says, "I came to thank you." He goes, "To thank me? Thank me for what?" "For the best weekend of my life."
On that note,
That is marriage.
What do you have to say? This
is marriage. Period.
I got to check up on you, Rebbe Yechiel.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts you'd like to share with our audience as we celebrate this year's Purim?
I'd like to wish everyone a freilich Purim, and we should only have good things.
Amen, amen. So I want to thank you both, our in-house Purim Rebbe, Rebbe Yechiel Rubin Shlita, Zechusa Yoga and Elena.
We'll see you next year. I know. I want to raise. And I know, as I always say this, I forgot to say this here, so I'll say it. I know your ratings are high in Monroe and Lakewood and Williamsburg.
Not after this show. Not after this show.
Oh, okay.
No, it's going to increase. It's going to increase.
It's going to increase. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. You have a lot of Am Yisrael Chai, and everybody should celebrate a beautiful Purim, and we should be ba'achdus. You should have unity, because that's what Purim's all about. Shalach Manas, Matanav Zev Yainim, Sudas Purim, Achdus, with family and friends, because with Achdus you have everything. Without Achdus you have nothing. You need Shalom. Shalom bias. If you want Shalom, you buy it. Period. That is the marriage message of the year.
But don't use that check.
No.
Anyway, Rabbi Yechiel Rubin, thank you for being with us. Mike Fine, first time on the air, not the less. Thank you for enhancing our Purim program.
Okay, thank you so much.
A freilich Purim to everybody.
A freilich Purim, all the best. Thanks.
Thanks for listening.
For continuous Jewish programs, TalklineNetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the TalklineNetwork.com.